Hi guys and welcome to my channel. So today we're making the ultimate steak and ale pie. So for this what you will need is some diced beef or steak. You will need some Guinness or a stout, some tomato puree, we've got some garlic, Worcestershire sauce or Worcester sauce as we call it, onion, some plain flour and some salt and pepper to season. So let's get cracking. So in a pan I'm going to put in some oil, heat that through a little bit, and then I'm going to add my beef. So in goes my beef. Now this is just diced beef and I've got two 700 gram packs. Now you might be thinking that's a lot of meat. It is, but I'm making oh, my finger went from the camera there. I'm making extra to pop in the freezer for a later date. So if you don't, this is going to make 6 decent individual pies, sort of like a pucker pie kind of thing. I'll show you the casing later on what it's going in. But yeah, so I am doing a lot, but you can easily half the recipe. So yeah, let's get this beef fried off. So that's just frying off there. You can see that it's changing colour on certain aspects of it. I haven't chopped this down. I've just literally put it in as is, because it's going to reduce down anyway and break up and as it tenderises. So I've just left it as is in the packet. So we're going to get this nicely fried off. So you can see there that it's browning off nicely. So just a couple of more minutes and then I'm going to take it out of the pan and put it in a separate bowl. So I've transferred the cooked meat from there into a bowl, and what I'm going to do now is we're going to add our onions into here. So in here I'm going to add just a touch oil into the pan, and then we're going to add our onion in there, and we're going to just fry them off until they're softened. Right, so our onions are softened now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our garlic and cook our garlic off for a couple of minutes. So just adding the garlic in there, and we're just going to cook this off for another 2 minutes. Just keep stirring at this point because it might catch on the bottom. And just one thing I wanted to say as well, I know that the beef isn't fully cooked through, and so if you are wondering, there are extra steps to fully cook the meat through, so don't panic. The next thing what we're going to add is our plain flour. We're going to add that to the mix, and we're going to give this a good stir round and a good coating. And what this will do, it'll act as a thickening agent, but what we do want to do is we want to make sure that the flour is cooked out and cooked thoroughly, because you don't want a floury taste in your pie mix. So I'm going to give this a good stir. If you do find your mixture a bit thick and it's sticking to the bottom like mine has, I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of water in to the mix, and again just give it a good thorough stir round. So in here I've got 400 ml, and I'm going to make some stock using just a stock pot. Add our beef stock into here and let that simmer away for a minute or so, giving it a good mix. So this is how our onion, garlic and stock mixtures kind of looking. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the Guinness, and this is a 500 ml bottle, and it's all going in. The next thing what we're going to add in is our Worcestershire sauce. So in that goes, and in goes the second one. So that's our tomato puree in, and we need to just give it a good mix, and we're going to let this simmer for a couple of minutes. We're going to add some salt and pepper just for a little bit of seasoning in there, and in goes our pepper. Now this next step, depending on what cut of meat you've got, so if you've used, say for example, a steak, that's going to tenderize really easily. You could just add your meat back into this pan, keep it simmering and boiling as it is, and then it'll eventually thicken and reduce down into the consistency that you'll see later on that we want. However, I'm using a cheaper cut of meat, so it doesn't tend to go as soft or falling apart as it should do. So what I do is I bang this mixture along with my steak into the slow cooker, and I pop it on high for 3 hours, and that really tenderizes and softens the meat. So we'll do that now. Guys, this is my slow cooker. It's a 6.5 litre slow cooker. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the meat into here first, and then I'm going to top it off with the sauce mixture that we've just made. This is the beef that we fried off earlier. All of the juices and everything like that as well. All of that goes in. So this is our Guinness mixture, and that's how it's looking now. I'm just going to pop that in the slow cooker as well, and it absolutely smells amazing. So that's the whole mixture into the slow cooker. And at this stage you might be thinking, what a carry on, but it wouldn't be the ultimate steak and ale pie if it was easy, and it really is worth it. Right guys, so while our mixture is in the slow cooker, we've made our pastry, which is on another video, link in the description. And what we're going to do now, we're going to roll this out. At this point, you can use ready roll pastry. You don't have to make your own. Again, it depends what kind of container you want to put your pie in. You can just have, if you've got a pie dish, just use that. You don't have to have a bottom. You can just have a lid on the top of the mixture if you want to. It's totally personal preference at this point. So how I do it, I do individual pies in a bit of a pucker pie kind of case. So these are the pie cases here. I do reuse some of them, to be honest. Once they're cooked, I just wash them out and reuse them. So I need to make 6 of these, roughly. So I'm going to get me pastry rolled out, and I'm going to put them in the pie cases ready for the mixture. So I've got my mixture, I've got my rolling pin, I've got a well-floured surface. I've patted this down so it's relatively smooth or even along the top, and then we're just going to roll it out like so. You want it about 1 centimetre to 1.5 centimetres thick. You don't want it too thick unless you like a lot of pastry. Right guys, so this is 3 hours later, and the meat has softened and cooked through, but what happens is obviously the liquid doesn't reduce down, so we're going to put this back on the hob and reduce the liquid down now. So this is the mixture back on the hob, and I'm just going to have it bubbling away with the lid off, and then it's just going to reduce down, and that liquid there is going to go into a thick gravy, and that's what we're aiming for, a thick gravy with all the tender meat and everything in there, and it smells absolutely amazing. So this is now the consistency that we want, so it is thick, but there's still a bit of a gravy there to put into your pie cases. So I'm going to now put some of this mixture into the pie cases. So I've got my spoon with the holes in. So I'm just going to fish some of the steak mixture out and put a spoonful in each container. And I'm just going to share them out really. And I'll put that into there. And we'll just fill our containers up with the steak mixture, and then I'll top it up with a little bit of gravy. So the next thing what I'm going to do with a ladle is I'm going to ladle some gravy into each of the pie. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an extra ingredient into 2 of the pies. This is absolutely optional, but I add a little bit of Stilton into 2 of the pies. There's 3 of us, so I'm cooking 3 tonight, and I'm going to put 3 in the freezer. So my husband and son are having a steak and ale pie, and I'm going to have steak, ale and Stilton. So I'm just going to crumble a little bit of the Stilton on before I put the gravy on. Right, so the next step now, what we're going to do is we're going to put our pastry lids on. So these lids here are probably going to be bigger than, quite, alright, so we're going to just pop them on like that. Again, they don't have to be perfect. To tell the difference between the Stilton pies and the normal steak, I've just put a little leaf on them ones. So the next step now, we're going to just get a fork, and we're just going to sort of push it onto the pastry, and then what this does, it seals the crust. This is your pie crust. It'll seal it so that no liquid or pie can sort of escape. So that's one done. So the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to add an egg wash to the top, and we're going to do this in 2 stages. So to get a nice sort of brown crispy crust, if you like, on the top of the pie, you do this once and then you let it dry before putting it in the oven, and then we're going to apply a second layer of the egg, and that's how you get like the brown, nice brown crispy tops on the pie, just by doing this. So this is the first one going on. So the egg wash has dried a bit on them, so it looks just a little bit glossy. So we're just going to do the second coating of them now. So just give that another second coating. Once it dries, it only takes a few minutes, but once it's dried, then we'll be able to put them in the oven. So that's the pies now ready for the oven. So I'm going to put them in the centre of the oven on gas mark 6 for about 30 to 40 minutes, or until they're golden brown. The remaining 3 pies, I'm going to leave these to cool. Once they are fully cooled, they can go into a freezer bag or a container, and then into the freezer for another day. So I'll bring you back once the pies are cooked, and then you can see what they're like. So that's the pies now out of the oven, and they're all fully baked. And I think you can see what I meant by the egg wash. So it's like got a bit of a glossy sort of texture to it, but it really does brown them and sort of crispen them off lovely. So yeah, so there's the pies finished and completed, and I'll show you what they're like plated up and when we cut them open. So that's the pie served up. So this is the Stilton one. So I'm just going to cut it open just so that you can see what it looks like inside. And there you go, guys. Steak, ale and Stilton pie. And then that one there is a one, and it's just to show you how the bottom and everything's cooked, because I know some people blind bake the pastry, but we didn't. So yeah, enjoy. Thanks for joining.